Hello. I'm about to give my thoughts on a topic, and I want to state that this is more opinion, and that one good point, any point you may see I have to make, deserves another good point. So feel free to pick apart what I say. Uh, so I was watching a video from a comic book reviewer. He'll name nameless, but he was covering in a jokey way. I mean, it's a humor video. Captain Planet, and of course the comic sucks, and the Captain Planet mythology, and but between the content of the video, which is hilarity, the beginning and end kind of I found disturbing, but got me thinking. It got me a stream of consciousness that lasted almost like an hour as I walked to school. Um, that first, that the preachiness and the bad writing of Captain Planet always left him ignorant of environmental issues, and it almost made him almost more apathetic to it. And then second, at the end, he was kind of in a mocking, sarcastic tone, uh, joking about the power is yours ending segment of the comic, where it suggests that you don't use disposable razors and that you reuse disposable plates and cups. And he joked, well, the point of it being disposable is that you can dispose of it. Why would I want to reuse it? And this got me thinking about many, many things. Why? Because at the moment, I'm a history nerd, and I've been reading a lot of different things. Environmental things, historical things, economic things. Just I go on and on about all different things. It's just so, but one such thing that I just wrote an essay on was industrialization and things like in my current class. It's one of my last ones. I'm almost done with school, I swear. Is modern Latin American history from an environmental perspective. So it covers sugar farming and mining and logging. And one such article mentioned creative destruction, something you don't hear that much. But it seems like a very common concept in advanced capitalism. So put it bluntly, I will destroy the forest and kill almost every living thing in it, but I will make all this furniture, and I'll make money and jobs and all that. And it's very good. But it got me thinking about other media I consume, being nerd, movies, comics, TV shows. It almost seems like a superhero kind of logic, creative destruction. I will destroy the world and remake it into something better, without lies or crime or violence, or I'll make it in my image, and since I'm perfect, it will be perfect. And I'll give you a concrete media example. In Batman Begins, if you're not familiar with it, the villain Ra's al Ghul is going to release toxic gas and kill everyone in Gotham because it's, as he says, it's corrupt, crime-ridden, it's not worth saving, and all that. And Batman stops him, but otherwise, it's similar logic. Why? I'll take it to an absurd conclusion, and what better to talk about supervillains but Godwin's Law argument Adam Hitler, that the Nazis are kind of an example of the conglomeration of every bad idea since the Enlightenment taken to its logical conclusion. If you start with a bad idea, you end up with bad results. Why not? And creative destruction might tie into that. So, okay, so we have this diseased, weak nation. What can we do? Well, we have these minorities, so let's creatively destroy them, and then we'll have a better culture. We'll have one without this muck-up. We'll have pure blood and whatever, and of course these are bad reasons. It's every step of the way. It's dumb. But I can draw it down to something a little more closer to home. Eminent domain is something where the government, basically by force almost, or maybe through negotiation, if it's done right, will take private property. So maybe a few houses, a few properties. If it's 2 houses to live in, it'll take it. Or if there's a certain public project like a library, it should go here. And all we have to do is demolish a few houses. They'll use it. it's okay kind of thing to do. But if if you use creative destruction kind of logic, and especially if the government does it on behalf of, say, a company or a business, then you get, say, a project like in New York City where we will destroy or cut through the neighborhood and build a football stadium or a highway, or in Columbia's case, Columbia University, a new, basically like another half campus of new buildings. Why? Because the crime is a little higher, and it's just minorities. Who cares? Don't question it. It won't affect you. And so and as Rachel Cole would say, it's not worth saving. It's just a little piece of Harlem, or it's just this piece of the West Side. Let's just build a soccer football stadium, would say Michael Bloomberg. So from there I go on to so so that's a more local example. Obviously, it's not to the extreme of the Holocaust, but it's the same kind of logic of disposability. Because if, say, a plate or a cup as before is disposable, then maybe something which takes more resources, like a television, is disposable. And if that's disposable, then why not a house, or a neighborhood, or a city, or a minority? It's similar logic. All it takes is a different scale of force or resources. Whatever's easier. But there's a better way, and I'll give you an example. Oh, okay. So let's take the Lorax. That's my next kind of. I'm working off the stream of consciousness here. The Lorax is the next thought I had, where you don't. The lesson of the Lorax is not to love trees like you would a spouse, but to simply not chop down all the trees. Because if you just did half or not all, you can still maintain the industry. You may not make as many jobs, you may not make as much money, but you'll have the industry. It will be sustainable. Wink, wink, keyword. And so one example of that is forestry. It's working right now, and but of course it's not. I don't know if forests are still leveled for logging anymore, but it's a great example. Because what you do is, in forestry, is you just go into a forest and you take the most mature trees, the best trees, the oldest ones, and you leave all the crappy younger ones. So you get the greatest quality timber to make furniture, good furniture that you wouldn't throw out. It's this furniture you pass down to your children, not crappy, disposable furniture. I'm looking at you, IKEA, but place name here. But it works, and you still have an industry. And there's this town in Mexico that, again, going back to those historical readings, right now there's this town, very communistic, I guess, but otherwise, there's still a little bit of growth, and everyone's being educated, everyone's being fed, everyone has freedom of speech and politics. No one's being. It doesn't seem anyone's pressed. It's working out pretty well. And they're not chopping down the whole forest for their own gain. But it's that kind of logic of disposability, that where, like, okay, I will destroy again, back to creative destruction. I'll destroy the mountain to get the minerals to make the iPhones. It's a very straight line of disposability, but we can't keep going like this, can we? Because even though you can say we still have so many more minerals, even though they're all in China, is that what's left just gets harder and harder to get to, right? So, like, okay, we can't get the easy oil. We have to go out into the ocean, and after the ocean's depleted, then we'll have to go to you go right to your backyard with hydrofrack. But of course, that has its own set of problems that I'm not getting into now. So I'll finish up by saying that there's two things that I would prefer everyone to check out pretty easy. There's this YouTube video called "There Is No Tomorrow." That's kind of a pessimistic take that explains energy and resource use in a kind of animated, interesting manner. It should be entertaining. But for an optimistic tone, look into things like permaculture, which it's just kind of and other kind of green guidebooks to sustainability. Some are very, very, very simple, and can't recommend it higher. Um, but that we should move away from this kind of thinking of creative destruction, that we must destroy society to make it better. We must destroy part of the civilization or the human psyche or something like that. Something must be sacrificed. We must break eggs to make omelets. Why not? Why do we eat omelets? I mean, omelets are yummy, but there are substitutes. And you don't have to break any eggs. Uh, or you can have a cycle more, economy that's more like a cycle, less like a straight line, more like that works like nature. Everyone uses this argument, oh, it's natural, we should do things that are natural. Even religious folks use it. Gay marriage, it's unnatural, we shouldn't do it, even though it is. But what else is natural? Moving around in a cycle, right? Like that recycling symbol. That you may cut down the tree and make the furniture, but then the furniture goes to the dump where it decomposes, and then you can plant trees on top of it. That's a cycle. You can still have dumps, you can still make money, you can still create jobs. It's just a matter of managing the resources. Perhaps regulating, to use civic jargon. So that's the kind of maybe a logical, reasonable stance to take, without going gung-ho communist, without slipping into Randyism or other craziness. So I'll leave you with the hopeful message that we can all do something to use a little less, because we won't have much either for us or the environment. The economy cannot exist without an environment. So why not have one? Thank you.